October 24, 1942 to 20 to 18 hours. West bank of the Matanikau River, Guadalcanal. Moonlight can't punch through the canopy. It only drips in pale beads across the mud, enough to pick out the dull gleam on Private First Class Charlie Chick. Donovan's Browning automatic rifle. His heartbeat seems louder than the cicadas. Sweat and gun oil sting his eyes as he thumbs a fresh 20-round magazine into the M1918A2. You can almost hear the click-tap echo across the ravine too loud. He thinks far too loud. Downslope, the river's a black ribbon cutting the jungle in two. On the eastern bank, unseen in the darkness, Lieutenant Colonel Massager Furukawa was forward assault company's fan out, bayonets glinting whenever a breeze shifts. The flare smoke still hanging from the evening artillery prep. They've rehearsed this charge in barracks courtyards from Tokyo to Rabaul. 3 men kneel, fire. 3 men rush, repeat, precise, economical, disciplined, everything their doctrine worships. No wasteful bursts, no spray and pray. Donovan doesn't know that philosophy, but he can smell the men who carry it. Fermented rice, cordite residue, damp wool. His squad leader, Sergeant Gabe Velasquez, taps his helmet brim, hold fire. The line of Marines crouched behind sandbag breastworks listens to the jungle breathe. Somewhere, across the river, a bird, startled by the build-up, flaps itself into silence. 20 to 21. A flare arcs, blossoms, fizzles into white-hot glare. For half a heartbeat, the jungle becomes a stage. Japanese helmets, Nambu light machine guns, banner flashes of steel. Then shouting. Then the bamboo crashes forward. Contact front. Velasquez roars. Donovan's finger tightens. The bar bucks like a live thing. The first 3-round burst stitching white sparks off helmet rims. The next burst is 5. Then 7 control slips. Instinct takes over. A river of brass pours from the ejection port, clinking off bamboo trunks, hissing into puddles. The weapon is heavy, muzzle climbing. But the cut-down buttstock slams against his shoulder like a metronome. Across the water, Lieutenant Tadashi Seda can't believe what he's hearing. One gun spitting faster than any Arisaka he's ever drilled with. His men hesitate, shaped by months of lectures on ammunition frugality. 1 shot, 1 body. But bodies are falling before they can fire a second round. Seda shouts for them to rush. Doctrine says speed negates firepower. He is still shouting when a bullet punches through his map case and shatters his hip. Donovan doesn't see that. All he sees is silhouettes jerking, collapsing, dissolving into brush. The flare gutters out, plunging everything into inky black again. Yet the jungle is louder now. Moans, splashes, the frantic metallic snick of Japanese bolt handles. The bar's barrel glows red in the dark. He smells baking Cosmoline. Velasquez slaps his shoulder. Motions to shift left. The firing lane is clogging with corpses. 20 to 27. Another flare. A new wave, this one larger, shoulder to shoulder. Banzai screams ricocheting off the ravine walls. They're betting on shock. Donovan's heartbeat goes thin and fast. He yanks the charging handle, swaps the magazine, slams the release. The column of cartridges feels absurdly small against what's coming. A second Marine, Corporal Willie Price, throws his own bar into the chorus. Now do automatic rifles stitch a luminous lattice across the riverbank. Spent casings rattle like hailstones. Somewhere behind them a mortar thumps. But the 60mm shell is swallowed by jungle before anyone sees where it lands. This fight belongs to the Brownings. For a moment, time slows. You can almost count the muzzle flashes. 1, 2, 30 lighting the Japanese faces as they break into the open. Donovan's shoulder is numb, ears ringing, but the trigger stays back. The weapon's 600-round per minute roar is the only language the enemy understands tonight. Then click, empty. Donovan dives for his bandolier. His right hand fumbles. Slick with sweat, finds another 20, slides, seats, slaps. He's up again. Finger tightening, and that's when he hears it. A whistle blast from the far tree line. Deeper than the rest, a different pitch. Orders for something bigger. The jungle answers with the rhythmic clank of Type 90 to heavy machine gun tripods being unfolded. One after another, moving into the gap the rifle waves failed to cross. Donovan can't see them yet, but he can feel the doctrine changing shape, growing teeth. How do you stop an iron river when the river learns to dig in and return fire? The whistle's echo hardly fades before hot tracer arcs slash through the palms. Type 90 to heavy machine guns wooden tripods. Jam crooked into the mud hammer out for 150 round per minute replies. Their churn is deeper, throatier than the Brownings. A growl rather than a buzz. For the first time tonight, the Marines feel rounds snap overhead in sheets instead of needles. You flinch with them. The air itself seems to harden. Sergeant Velasquez drags Donovan down behind a half-collapsed coconut log revetment. Chunks of wet bark erupt as 7.7 millimeters rounds chew the cover to splinters. Short bursts, he yells, but the order is swallowed by the duel of automatics. Beside them, Corporal Price fires from the hip, sweeping left to right until his bar locks open empty again. 20 rounds disappear in under 2 seconds. Across the river, Lieutenant Seda lies propped against a stump, morphine syringe dangling. From his arm, he watches the Type 90 crews heave their strip-feed belts, 5 men to a gun. Their doctrine calls this Kakanho support pin the enemy, let fresh rifle platoons flank. But the jungle offers no clear lanes. Instead, orange tracers ricochet off tree trunks, ricocheting inward. A deadly game of billiards that wounds friend and foe alike. Seda tries to raise a signal lamp, cease frontal fire, pivot left. The lamp is shot out before he clicks once, 20 to 34. Donovan's bar barrel glows a dull cherry. He smells burning gun oil, a sweet, metallic incense. "Swap me," he shouts. Velasquez slams down an extra barrel assembly wrested from the squad's spare parts roll. In darkness, with hands shaking, Donovan punches the latch, swings the scalding steel clear, rams the cool barrel home. 40 seconds feel like 40 minutes. Above them, the Type 92s rake the treetops, felling fronds that flutter like wounded birds. Just downslope, Navy Corpsman Ed Doc Hirano inches along the firing line in a crazy quilt of shadow and flare flash. He is half Japanese by blood, Montanan by birth, and tonight every syllable of shouted Nihongo tears at him. He finds Private Coon screaming with a chunk of palm frond embedded in his thigh shrapnel masquerading as foliage. Hirano's hands work fast, sulfa, bandage, morphine. "You're golden, partner," he whispers, though the kid is chalk white. Another whistle shrieks beyond the river. Second machine gun platoon coming online. Hirano forces himself deeper into the line. Someone has to keep these automatic gunners. A bright dot back at the Type 92 positions. Corporal Kenji Morimoto wrestles a fresh 150 round belt through the feedway. Sweat stings his eyes, but he grins finally. The wasteful Americans will learn ammunition discipline. He leans into the spade grips, THWOP. A single 60mm mortar round lands square on the gun pit, a freakish 1 in a million drop, black. Dirt geysers skyward. When the dust settles, the Type 92 is flipped. Tripod legs twisted like paper clips. Morimoto staggers, deaf, spitting mud. The iron river falters. Donovan sees the gap. Shift right, right guns down. Velasquez relays to Price, and both bars swing, stitching the exposed flank where replacement crews scramble. Brass cascades. In the flicker of muzzle flash, Japanese riflemen hurl smoke grenades, desperate to mask the crossing, but the wind betrays them, rolling the smoke back over their own line. Ghostly figures cough and stumble, backlit by every tracer the Browning spit, 20 to 40. Captain Alphonse Fons Marlowe, company CO, belly crawls in with a field telephone handset clutched like a live bird. Battalion says hold at all costs. Regiment's tied up on Bloody Ridge. He doesn't have to say the rest. No reinforcements. Not tonight. His eyes lock on Donovan's glowing barrel. We lose that rate of fire. We lose the river bank. Simple math. A sudden lull, no whistles, no screams. The jungle holds its breath. Donovan switches magazines, pulses a 2-round test burst. Nothing answers. Maybe the enemy's pulling back. He peers through foliage sliced tissue thin by bullets. Then he sees them, dark shapes crawling, low, using corpses as cover. Knives glint. Grenades hang from teeth, raiders, not rifle waves. but hand-picked shock troops trained to wriggle under interlocking fire and silence machine guns one by one. Velasquez curses. They're coming under. He grabs a cache of MK grenades, yanks 3 pins at once, rolls them downhill like dice on a craps table. Kahwump, WHUMP, WHUMP. Branches rain. A scream curdles into the night air cutoff. Wet, but more shapes push forward. You can feel Donovan's pulse hammering as a raider pops up 5 yards out, hurling a Type 97 grenade. Time dilates. He sights high. Taps the trigger just 3 rounds this time. The silhouette folds backward. Grenade sailing harmlessly into the river with a plunk and a sickly underwater flash. A brush rustle on the left, another raider. Far too close for trench warfare textbooks. Donovan twists, but his bar is long, clumsy. At bayonet range, the Japanese soldier lunges with a Shinguntu officer's saber, its edge catching a shard of flare light, and the saber meets a kabar, swung upward by Doc Hirano, who appears as if the jungle spat him out for the single heartbeat. Steel rings on steel, sparks spray. Hirano's free hand jabs a morphine surret needle straight into the raider's cheek. The man stiffens in shock. Donovan finishes him with a muzzle jab and a point-blank round. Hirano exhales. I'm out of surrets. He mutters. Donovan can't tell if it's a joke. The corpsman disappears again. A phantom in shark gray moonlight. The line steadies. But ammo does not. Donovan pats his belt. 3 magazines left, maybe 60 rounds. Price is down to 2. Velasquez keys the handset. Static hissing. Dog 6. Dog 6. This is Able 1. BAers at quarter ammo. Repeat. Quarter. Over the crackle comes battalion's reply, barely intelligible. But one phrase punches through. Sunrise resupply. Sunrise is 5 hours away. From the far tree line, a fresh banzai chorus erupts, hundreds of voices, deeper, more guttural than before. Donovan's stomach hollows. If the first waves were infantry companies, this is a battalion, maybe more, and somewhere behind that roar, he imagines, generals still cling to textbooks that scorn automatic fire, unaware that their own doctrine is bleeding out on the riverbank. A single flare climbs, pops, and floods the ravine with merciless white. Everything is visible, every corpse, every trembling leaf, every glistening bar barrel. The next charge is seconds away. Will 60 rounds be enough? The Hago's tiny diesel coughs as it noses down the muddy embankment, treads churning sludge into froth. Search lamps snap on, sweeping cones of hard light across the shattered palm trunks. Every beam they cast feels like a fist squeezing Donovan's lungs. One mistimed breath and he'll light up like a moth in a porch bulb. Captain Marlowe drops a canvas satchel into Donovan's lap. 3 MK grenades, taped around a block of Nobel Composition C, a field-made satchel charged with a 2-second pull fuse. Stick it on the boogie wheels, he whispers. She loses a track. She's a pillbox we can burn. Donovan tests the fuse lanyard between thumb and forefinger. It's damp, gritty, slippery as eel skin. One tug too early and his story ends. In a red cloud, Velasquez taps the borrowed Type 99 rifle hanging on Donovan's shoulder. Keep it. Shoot the escort, not the tank. Donovan nods. There's always an escort. Sure enough, 4 Japanese infantrymen trot alongside the Hago, bayonets gleaming, waving off panicked riflemen to clear a lane. Their job, swat any Marine crazy enough to crawl close. The riverbank squelches under 15 tons of steel. The tank commander, Sergeant Muraoka, ducks halfway into the turret, scanning through binoculars for telltale phosphorescent muzzle flashes. He knows the Americans favor phosphorus-tipped tracers. He sees none. He chuckles. Perhaps the automatic guns really are silent now. Doctrine may yet be vindicated. In the trench, Donovan pulls off his helmet, swaps it for a soggy watch. Cap to cut shine. He hands his dog tags to Doc Hirano. If this goes sideways, you need him back. Hirano interrupts, forcing a grin. He slaps a morphine surret into Donovan's breast pocket. For them, not you. 20 to 57. The Hago lurches into the shallows, water burbling against its bow plate. This is the ford Marlowe gambled on. Once inside the riverbed, The tank's speed drops to a crawl. Go, Velasquez hisses. Donovan vaults the revetment, immediately belly flops into mud. Becoming one more gray shape among dozens, he crawls. In the shallow troughs carved by Japanese boots, dead man's footsteps moving. Only when the tank's engine revs to masked noise. The satchel charge, cradled against his chest, throbs with every heartbeat. 20 yards, 15, a rifleman. And the escort glances back, spooked by movement. Donovan freezes, face half submerged. A mosquito lands on his eyelid. He resists the urge to blink. The rifleman shrugs, trudges on. 10 yards. The Hago's exhaust fumes roll over him, acrid. Metallic, almost comforting, like hiding beneath. A dragon that can't smell its own smoke from the marine line. Price finally clears his bar's chamber. He slaps in his last magazine when he rounds of .3006 that suddenly feel priceless. He sights on the escort flank, but Velasquez whispers, "Not yet. Let the kid plant it." Every man in the trench is a statue. Even the jungle hushes, as if the island itself is watching a dice throw. 5 yards. Donovan rolls to his side, unshutters the Type 99, sets sights on the rear escort soldier, the one closest to him. He inhales sugar-sweet smell of Comc brushing his nostrils. Lets half the breath out, squeezes, pop, the air sac cracks. The escort soldier spins, throat blossoming dark. Chaos erupts. Donovan is already moving, low sprint. 2 strides, a dive under the tank's overhang. Steam hisses off the water-hot treads. The world becomes clanking iron and molten rubber stench. He jams the satchel between the 3rd and 4th boogie wheels, jerks the fuse cord 1000. 2 a bayonet stabs under the hull, slashing his thigh. He howls, kicks backward. Connecting with flesh, the Japanese rifleman stumbles, prices. Bar answers, a 6-round burst that chews the man into the river. Velasquez's Thompson barks, dropping the second escort. Donovan scrambles clear. Blood drumming in his ears, he makes 3 frog leg leaps before the satchel blooms pure white hot. KR rump, the Hago lifts a foot off the ground, track links, whipping outward like shrapnel. The turret hatch slams shut on Sergeant Muraoka's hand. He screams. Pinned, then silent as the 37mm ammo rack cooks off. Boom, boom, boom. Shells pop like fireworks, shredding the thin armor into curling petals. Marines erupt in cheers that sound suspiciously like sobs. But the night gives no trophies. 2 more Japanese platoons surge, enraged by the tank's death. And now they have captured Browning's. Marines recognize their own M1917 water-cooled gun, spitting back across the riverbank, stolen from a dead weapons company. Donovan limps into the trench, thighusing. Doc Hirano slaps a field dressing, injects the morphine meant for someone else. Vision swims, pain mutes to a dull gong beating in distant fog. Velasquez clamps Donovan's shoulder. Still breathing, hero. Donovan manages a crooked smile. Tracks off the book, Sarge. Doctrine update in progress, but celebration is cut short as flares burst anew. 3 at a time clusters. Each flare reveals fresh silhouettes massing beyond the shattered tank. Not mere platoons now, but whole companies. Captain Marlowe's field phone hisses. Division has intercepted. Signals Imperial General Kawaguchi is throwing everything west of the Lunga perimeter into this night assault. If they break through here, Henderson Field, the lifeline, falls within artillery range by dawn. Velasquez scans ammo pouches. 5 carbine mags, half a Thompson stick. 1 box of shotgun shells passed down from a rear echelon cook. No bar belts. Left, Donovan, woozy, clutches the looted Type 99 3 rounds remaining. Marlowe's voice drops to a rasp. They think we're empty. Let's prove half right. He orders every man to strip tracers, save them for the last 10 rounds make. The enemy think you're freshly supplied just before you go black. Illusion as a weapon. In the distance, a Japanese bugler sounds the long, rising wail traditionally saved for victory charges. It drifts over the river like a prophecy. Doc Hirano tightens Donovan's tourniquet. Still want to be the automatic gunner. Donovan's eyes clear for a heartbeat. Yeah, he says, but I'll settle for being loud. He thumbs the Arisaka's bolt closed. Hundreds of silhouettes start forward in perfect cadence. Rifles leveled. No tank this time, just raw, doctrinal faith that mass steel will smother sputtering resistance. 5 tracer rounds lie in Donovan's pocket. 3 live in his borrowed rifle. Darkness presses in. What happens when the ammo ends but the will does not? The flare hangs overhead like a miniature sun, bleaching color even from the jungle's darkness. Every leaf, every corpse, every trembling rifle barrel is exposed. Sergeant Velasquez feels the back of his neck crawl, no shadows left to hide in. Beyond the riverbank, hundreds of helmets surge forward in a rippling tide. Bayonets tucked to the hip for the final sprint, bugles shrill in ragged harmony. It sounds more like a funeral march than a battle cry. Private First Class Charlie Donovan checks his belt again. 3 magazines, 60 rounds. He thumbs one mag, feels the ridged brass, and wonders which of those 60 bullets has his own name on it. Corporal Willie Price leans in. Breath ragged, we ration burst 5 and move. 5 and move. Donovan nods, knuckles white on the bar's forend, across the muddy ribbon. Lieutenant Colonel Furukawa's adjutant waves a tattered flag, directing platoons into 3 assault wedges. Doctrinal diagrams come alive. Riflemen lead, light machine. Guns in overwatch, officers with swords raised high, somewhere behind them. Furukawa is certain the Americans must be down to pistols by now. Doctrine promise it stand to. Velasquez shouts, pick your lanes. The Marines adjust, barrels. Tracking left to right like hunters waiting for a flock to rise. Captain Marlowe finishes a frantic radio call. Battalion can spare to 75mm pack howitzer salvos. But the tubes won't be laid in for at least 10 minutes. They all know 10 minutes can be the lifespan of a planet. The first Japanese wave breaks. Cover. Donovan lets them come halfway across the sandbar before he squeezes. 5-round burst. The bar coughs flame. 5 helmet rims spark and vanish. He releases, breathes, shifts to degrees, right another burst. Smoke swirls. Brass tinkles against rotting palm trunks. The discipline is surgical, almost serene. You can hear the math rounds left, distance closed, but bodies keep moving. Doctrinal courage, they called it. A lance corporal named Pete Harris pops a rifle grenade. The 22mm can tumble skyward, arcs, lands dead center whomp, blowing sand and bone into a gray fountain. It buys 3 seconds, maybe 4. Banzai shriek splits the din. Shock troops with Type 97 grenades sprint through the smoke curtain. Price fires a burst, drops 2. But one grenade hurtles end over end toward the Marine line. It lands short, fizzing. Donovan's reflexes override terror. He kicks the pineapple. Back like a soccer player. It explodes midair, shredding palm fronds but sparing the trench. The men around him whoop brief. Primal electricity, but nobody believes the tide is turned. Rounds remaining. 40. Hirano reappears, face smeared with equal parts blood and black mud. He presses a fresh bandage onto Donovan's shoulder only. Then does Charlie realize a splinter carved his flesh. Bleeders later, Hirano says, shoot now. Then he's gone, chasing the next scream. The Japanese second wave closes to 30 yards. Velasquez empties his last Thompson magazine. Pistol caliber rounds sparking off helmets like dull hail. His bolt locks back. He drops into the trench, rummaging one-handed for point for 5 clips. No time. He raises his Ka-bar instead. Donovan's bar. Chatters 5, then 5 more. 20-round magazine clacks dry. 20 rounds left. He swaps again. Motion slowed by fatigue. Gun oil is mud now, smeared across his cheek like war paint. He jerks the charging handle. The spring feels heavier. As if it, too, is tired of killing. Something new whistles an SH crash. Pack howitzer shell. The jungle convulses. A gap opens in the charging line. But Japanese riflemen simply flow around it. Furukawa's doctrine prized momentum above all. If one squad falls, the next steps over. Bodies become stepping stones. At the trench is far right. Corporal Price's bar jams ruptured casing. He curses, flips the weapon, works a cleaning rod down the smoking chamber. Donovan glances over. One automatic gun down. Now the river of bullets is a trickle. Japanese troops sense it. Their pace quickens, screams sharper, bayonets thirsty. 10 rounds. Donovan's finger hesitates. Only one burst left in his final magazine. He scans for a target big enough to matter. That's when he sees the Type 90 to tripod they destroyed earlier now. Right side up again, crewed by fresh gunners dragging a belt through the feedway, 50 yards. They're seconds from returning the favor. He exhales, sights center mass on the loader, and squeezes. The last 10 rounds leap in a single thunderous roar. No burst now, just desperation. The loader crumples, the gunner jerks back, hands ruined. The Type 90 to pitches sideways. Donovan's magazine locks empty with a hollow clack. He lets the bar drop to its sling, chest heaving. Silence swells around him, broken only by distant cries and the fizz of burning foliage. No rounds, no resupply. 5 hours to sunrise. Velasquez spots the empty weapon. Pick something up, he shouts. Donovan vaults the revetment, boots splashing into ankle-deep water among the dead and dying. He snatches a Type 99 rifle from a fallen corporal, flips the bolt, checks the chamber. 5 rounds of 7.7 millimeters glare back. The weight feels alien. But in this moment, iron is iron. He scrambles back just as the third wave emerges. Fresh helmets, unsullied uniforms, as though the hillside itself manufactures soldiers. Donovan shoulders the captured rifle, bolt lifted halfway. He pauses, bizarrely aware that somewhere in Tokyo, instructors insisted this weapon slow, deliberate was the epitome of infantry virtue. Okay, he mutters, let's see your virtue run faster than lead. He slams the bolt home. 5 foreign cartridges chamber with a metallic snarl. And from the eastern tree line comes a new sound, low and rhythmic. CLOP CLOP. Hooves? Velasquez and Marlowe exchange a glance. The Japanese haven't used horses tonight, so what is pushing? Through the jungle now, silhouetted against the flare-lit smoke. The shape is squat, boxy, with a snub-nosed barrel barely longer than a man's arm. A Type 95 Hago light tank, gear grinding toward the river. Armor thin, but thicker than sandbags and skin. Its commander pops the hatch, scanning with field glasses. Machine gun cokes glitters. Rifles won't stop that. Brownings are empty. Pack howitzers can't depress to river level. The Marines have nothing left but grit and grenades. Velasquez's mouth goes dry. Ideas. Donovan? Only one flickers. Those grenades taped together bundled charges. But someone has to crawl close enough to slap them onto the tracks. Can you picture it? Mud up to your knees, enemy infantry swarming behind rolling steel, and you armed with a borrowed rifle and a sack of TNT being asked to sprint into history. Donovan chambers round 2. I'll go, he says. Captain Marlowe shakes his head. Not yet. Wait for the tank to commit to the ford, then run. 5 hours until sunrise. 1 tank crossing. A pocket full of borrowed bullets. What happens when Doctor meets dynamite? 23:19 hours, matanikau riverbank. Moonset in 45 minutes, dawn in 4 hours and change. The jungle exhales a single collective breath, then every Japanese rifle on the opposite slope booms as one. A sheet of muzzle flashes ripples downhill, turning the night into a strobe. Bullets zing through palm fronds, punch new holes in already tattered sandbags. The very air feels sliced into ribbons. Captain Marlowe's order echoes down the line. No return fire till 50 yards. The Marines crouch, weapons hugged to ribs, willing themselves smaller. It means swallowing instinct, letting the first storm pass overhead. Velasquez recites primer words under his breath: eject, extract, seat, squeeze, like a rosary for men who worship brass and powder. Across the river, Lieutenant Colonel Furukawa lopes behind his lead elements, saber raised, convinced the Americans are spent. In his field notebook, he has already sketched tomorrow's map arrow. Matanikau seized before dawn. Guadalcanal perimeter collapses by sundown. History, pre-written in ink. 40-5 yards. Velasquez clicks his Zippo FZZT, ignites a stump. Coated in petrol jelly, an orange bloom pops, lighting the trench with hellfire glow. Shadows gyrate, Japanese riflemen hesitate, unsure if it's artillery spotting or a signal. That single heartbeat is the gift the Marines were waiting for. Price stands. Shoulders his bar-empty chamber, but nobody needs to know that yet. He fires a blank. The only one they've got. Flames belch from the muzzle. The jungle crackles with the echo of a gun that can't actually kill. The enemy sees the flash, and ducks. Doctrine says automatics first, in that crouch. They stack together like dominoes. Now, Marlowe barks. 5 men, including Donovan, on one shaky leg rise and loose their tracer reserve. 10 red needles. Stitch the dark, slicing through the most crowded cluster. Bodies crumple. The line of bayonets wavers, breaks, reforms, to Furukawa. It looks like fresh ammunition and American trick he hadn't planned for, but the magazines really are bone dry. Donovan slams the Arasaka's bolt click-click, empty. He flips the rifle, uses it like a quarterstaff, smashing jaw and collarbone of the nearest attacker, vaulting the sandbags. Blood sprays across his watch cap. Hirano scoops a dropped Type 96 light machine gun from the mud, just 2 rounds left in the hopper. He fires both point blank into a charging NCO, then hurls the whole weapon like a club. Metal meets skull with a dull tonk. The NCO folds without a sound. 23-27. Japanese grenades arcing. Hissing fuses spinning amid boots. Velasquez boots one. Back, it detonates midair, blowing apart fern leaves. Another lands between Donovan and Price. Donovan dives, smothers it with the corpse of the man he just clubbed. A wet thud. A geyser of earth shrapnel thunks off Donovan's borrowed steel helmet. The impact steals his hearing. The battle melts into muffled, underwater chaos, somewhere beyond the roar. Distant thup-thup-thup rises US 81mm mortars finally walking shells upriver. Guided by Marlowe's last grid call. White phosphorus flares blue-white, raining molten. Stars, Japanese silhouettes scatter, cloaks igniting as the jungle itself combusts. Furukawa watches dreams unravel in sheets of fire. He signals retreat 100 meters, regroup, but buglers are dead or lost. Orders dissolve in smoke. Doctrine has no paragraph for men pinned by their own fearless advance. Price slaps Donovan's shoulder, mouth moves, no sound. He points east, shape slipping back into tree line. Withdrawal. Donovan's ears ring. But the meaning is clear. The riverbank, for the moment, is theirs, yet no cheers rise. Too many friends lie still. Velasquez moves trench to trench, counting. Breathing shapes, 19 survivors from the original 47. Captain Marlowe clutches the handset, static then a faint voice, battalion net. Resupply patrol out of the ridge, ETA 1 hour plus. 1 hour might as well be a century. But it's something. Marlowe relays, hold positions, prep bayonets, no ammo, use blades. Dawn's coming. Donovan leans against the berm, pulse hammering in his stitched thigh. Morphine fog lifts long enough for him to notice something glinting under the wrecked Hago ammo. Tins, tossed aside by retreating crews. He limps forward, half wading the still warm river, pulls an olive drab. Box free. Stenciled letters, .3006 ball. 192 RDS, in cartons. Marines loot faster than kids on Halloween. Velasquez feeds new belts into Price's bar, slaps magazines into M1 South, divides loose cartridges by handfuls. The fire river is reborn from enemy waste. As the men reload, first rain begins a warm, tropical sluice that hisses on hot metal and washes blood into the black water. Steam rises. The whole riverbank smolders like a forge cooling at midnight. Donovan wipes rain, sweat, and gun oil from his eyes in one muddy swipe. He looks east, past the tree line. He can't see the enemy, but he can feel them gathering, reorganizing, wounded pride fusing into something more desperate. Doctrine is dead weight now. Dawn and survival are the only laws. He chambers afresh. American round into his bar, the familiar metallic snick echoing like a promise, one by one. Other weapons answer, bolt cycling, safeties clicking off. The trench becomes a choir of resolve. Lightning flickers beyond the horizon. Thunder follows close. Rain intensifies, drumming helmets, drenching bandages, turning the battlefield into a muddy amble. Could storm clouds buy them the last few hours? Or will they merely cloak the next Final charge? Donovan breathes iron-scented air, feels the bar's weight settle on his shoulder. For the first time all night, he speaks without shaking. Let M come. We've got rounds enough to teach doctrine one more lesson. Overhead, far too early for sunrise. The sky cracks again, this time not lightning, but the throaty rumble of radial engines. 6 silhouettes skim the cloud-based SBD dauntlesses, returning from a fruitless dawn hop, diverted by the same storm. Their running lights flash like wings from gods of war. Do they see the tiny knot of Marines below? Will they swing down, drop anything with teeth? Or will the storm swallow them before a single bomb falls? Rain blurs everything, even hope will. The sky delivers salvation or merely light the way for the next banzai? The rain turns to silver needles under the dauntless's running lights. 6 gull-wing silhouettes skim just below the cloud ceiling, props clawing humid air. On the deck of Blue 2, Lieutenant Mike Skid Travis wipes condensation from his canopy and tilts a wingtip for a better look. Down there between the matanikau and a burning stump, somebody's flashing tracers and Morse. SOS 3 times in red-hot dots and dashes. Not a naval gun line. Not a Betty bomber, this is friendly. Desperate friendly. Travis clicks his throat mic. Punch out flight. Check my mark. Looks like our boys are ankle deep in it, in the back seat. Gunner, radio Tom Beans. Douglas rotates the rear Browning .30 toward the jungle below. Think. We got anything left to drop? Travis thumbs the ordnance panel to 100-pounders and 6 daisy cutter frags. Hang stubbornly to their shackles, save for a cruiser they never found. Good enough. On the riverbank, Sergeant Velasquez shouts over the storm. Show him where. Charlie. Donovan slams a fresh belt into his bar, flips the selector to auto. He lifts the muzzle skyward and dumps a 2-second burst scarlet streaks, carving a luminous X in the clouds. Risky, every tracer that climbs invites another Japanese rifle to reply, but without it. The SBDs are just ghosts groaning past, across the river. Imperial troops have regrouped behind a fallen mahogany log the pack howitzers shattered earlier. Captain Nakajima levels binoculars, rainwater sluicing down the lenses. He sees the Tracer X and snarls. American air always feels like treachery battles should be settled by infantry courage. He barks to his bugler, accelerate the final charge. Before the bombs find us, doctrine once more overrules reality. 2344. A flare cuts upward from the Japanese line green this time. It's their own signal. All units advance. Even as the rain hammers harder, silhouettes rise from the undergrowth. Rifles held high to keep muzzles dry, bayonets glittering in brief lightning strobes. The bugles bleat in minor key, ragged but resolute. High above, Travis watches the green flare bloom beneath the red X. That's confirmation. Punch out. Arm in pairs. His canopy fogs again. He palms it clear, rolls inverted, and pushes into a 70-degree dive. Airspeed screams past 260 knots. Beans yanks the dive flaps. The Dauntless steadies like a hawk. Down below, the Marines feel the air. Crackle engines, sirens, the banshee wail of perforated dive brakes. Donovan's hair prickles even under his steel pot for a surreal heartbeat. Every rifle on both sides pauses, all eyes tilting skyward at the steel angels dropping out of black clouds. Travis pickles first, 200 feet before pull-out, both 100-pounders released with a hollow whump-whump. He yanks the stick, G-forces slam him into the seat. Beans looses a daisy cutter canister for good measure, then rakes the tree line with his rear gun as they climb. 5 other Dauntlesses follow. A lethal waterfall of explosives. QMPH-Ka-WHUMP-boom. Pressure waves slap the river flat. The nearest Japanese assault wedge disintegrates. Bodies, rifles, and palm fronds cartwheel in orange plumes. Another bomb flips Nakajima's log into the air like a child's toy, shredding the coordination he'd fought to rebuild. Shrapnel patters the Marine trench like hail. Velasquez ducks instinctively. Donovan stays up, eyes wide, watching enemy. Ranks ripple backward, but not all two platoons slip left, shielded by the Hago wreck. Still bent on overrunning the fading American line before more air support cycles in. Captain Marlowe clocks the maneuver. Charlie, Price, you're the hinge, pin him to the bank. Price's bar spits renewed lifelong, savage bursts. Tracers hissing through steam and rain. Donovan finds his rhythm again. 7-round strings, pause, relocate, 7 more. You can almost taste the cordite, metallic on the back of your tongue. The Japanese left flank platoon staggers under the automatic sleet, but presses on. Bayonets. Catch bomb firelight. Faces are smeared with mud and fury. One sergeant shoulders a Type 89 grenade discharger, the infamous knee mortar, and lobs a high arc round toward the trench. It lands 2 yards short, blasts a geyser that showers Donovan with gravel, but costs no blood. He answers with an 8-round rip, cutting the mortar crew to ribbons. The platoon falters, losing its spine. Above, punch out flight circles for another. Run but flak bursts, likely friendly 90s miscued in the haste stitch to close. Travis curses and peels east to orbit until daybreak. The sky's help has bought minutes, not hours. 23:58. Rain slackens to drizzle. Steam coils off crater lips, blending with gun smoke. Mangled palms glow charcoal red where incendiary gel still clings in the hush. The unmistakable rattling tock of a single surviving Type 90 to starts up again. Somewhere near the shattered fort, its tracers rake the dauntless flight path, then gouge the Marine trench. One burst walks straight toward Price, before Donovan can yell. Price shudders. 3 rounds punch through his poncho, knock him against the revetment. He slumps, bar sliding free. Doc Hirano skids over, fingers already crimson, neck and shoulder kneed. Pressure here, he shouts. Donovan drops beside them, jams a rag against the wound. Price's eyes flicker, unfocused. The Type 90 keeps chattering. Every burst chews another foot off the trench wall, soil collapsing like sugar. Captain Marlowe claws for the field phone dead. Line severed by bomb shock. No coordinates, no mortar. Answer, the heavy is beyond bar range, masked by wreckage. Someone will have to crawl out with gammon grenades or it will peel the company to bones. Velasquez surveys the faces under flickering flare light. 3 men unwounded enough to move. Donovan's gaze meets the sergeant's. No words, just a nod toward the wreck-littered Ford and a fistful of gammon bombs. Glass globes stuffed with composition B, detonator taped on. Touchy things that bloom bigger than fate. Doc Hirano straps a morphine syrup between Price's teeth, tightens the bandage. Price mouths something, maybe thanks, maybe goodbye. Nobody can hear over the Type 92's hammer. Farther upriver, muffled voices rise. Japanese engineers pushing pontoon slats into water. Another crossing, if they get armor over those makeshift bridges before dawn. Even dauntlesses won't stem the flood. Donovan slings a gammon over each shoulder, feels their liquid weight shift. Round 2, he mutters, half to himself. Velasquez clasps his wrist. Leave the rifle. Take the car, you'll be crawling. A dull orange glow on the eastern horizon hints at dawn, but also backlights every move on the river bank. Darkness is no longer cover. It's a countdown clock. The heavy gun rips again. Lightning fast, tock, each burst a metronome marking the seconds Donovan is left to decide. Crawl into the open with glass grenades or watch the line dissolve. Under steel rain. Mud swallows Charlie Donovan to the elbows as he belly slides out of the trench. The drizzle has stopped. Now the air is a warm, suffocating blanket that amplifies every heartbeat. Ahead, 20 yards of crater-pocked earth gleam like wet obsidian, broken by the black spine of the wrecked Hago and a lattice of fallen palm trunks. Somewhere beyond that, the Type 90 hammers its angry metronome tock flashes, striving through gaps in the wreckage. Each burst lifts hot grit that sprinkles Donovan's face. Behind him, Velasquez hisses, slow and flat, then vanishes back into shadow, covering arcs with an empty Thompson and nothing but faith. Doc Hirano presses both hands on Price's neck, wound, whispering a haiku about stubborn cherry blossoms, anything to keep the corporal anchored to the world. Donovan pats the gammon bombs taped to his chest, thin glass spheres, each no bigger than a coconut, yet packed with enough composition to peel the turret off a medium tank. Their detonators are friction fuses. Pull the cord. You've got 4 seconds, maybe 5. If the gods are kind, no second chances. He worms forward, ribs scraping corrugated roots. Rain-pooled craters reflect the first hints of dawn of faint. Blood-orange smear on cloud bellies. As light grows, shadows shrink. Every inch he crawls becomes riskier. A chunk of shrapnel lies in his path, mirror bright. He plucks it free, pockets it no reason. Maybe a souvenir, maybe something to bite if he screams. 15 yards, a Japanese sentry suddenly appears atop the Hago wreck. Silhouette etched by ember glow. He cups a cigarette against the wine tiny. Red coal blooming. Donovan freezes. The sentry exhales. Scans the trench line through rain-fogged glasses. Then climbs down to yell at the machine gun crew. His boots ring on bent armor plates. Donovan inhales swamp-sweet air, edges forward, 10 yards. The Type 92 opens against TOK-TOK-TOK-TOK. Its muzzle flash strobes the sentry's profile as he hands fresh belts to the gunner. Donovan watches the loader's bare forearms shimmer slick with sweat. Every muscle flex is a study in survival odds. He reaches the burned-out remains of a palm trunk, flips onto his side. The gammon's safety tape is soggy. He peels it with slow, shaking fingers. One bomb primed, for second fuse. He can't throw distances wrong. Arc is blind. He'll have to plant it. He slides under the Hago's twisted track, loam gripping like hands. Diesel stink still clings to shattered drive wheels. The dead tank groans occasionally as hot metal contracts ghost sounds that mask his breathing. 5 yards. Donovan can almost read the kanji stenciled on the Type 92's feed box. The gunner kneels in a shallow pit, spade grips vibrating. The loader crouches left, arm ready with the belt. The sentry lights another cigarette, sheltering flame under his helmet. Donovan's heartbeat becomes a timpani. He palms the first gammon, licks rain from cracked lips, and wonders if the fuse cord will hiss loud enough to betray him. Only one way to find out. He bunches, frog kicks, slides the last yard, reaching the pit's rim. Clay sloughs off the lip with a soft plop. The loader half turns, puzzled. Donovan lunges. With his left hand he jams the gammon behind the gun's receiver, yanks the fuse. With his right, he whips the car upward, catching the loader under the jaw steel scraping bone. Blood splashes the hot breech, sizzling. One beat. To dot the gunner swings the barrel toward Donovan. Finger tightening. Donovan barrels backward. Muddy boots churning. Fuse cord sparks FZZZZZZT. WHU bang. A white flash folds the gun pit inward. The Type 90 somersaults, shields twisting like tinfoil. A shockwave punches Donovan in the chest, flips him onto his back. For a second he feels nothing, just a ringing silence and the surreal swirl of wood smoke. And cherry ash tobacco. Then sound rushes back, yells, rifle cracks, the rush of feet. His hearing is a tunnel, but one Japanese curse cuts through. Bakayaro Soko. Da! Someone spotted him. Donovan rolls, tries to draw the second gammon. But pain flares in his left side, shrapnel or rib, doesn't matter. To bayonet silhouettes charge through smoke. He scrambles for the car, but fingers close. On empty mud the knife blew clear. TOK-TOK-TOK. A new burst, but not Japanese. From the trench, Velasquez has mounted Price's half-jam bar on the berm, firing single shots. One bayonet silhouette jerks, falls. The other keeps coming. Bayonet tip trembling like a tuning fork. Donovan grips the pocketed shrapnel shard. Flings its reflex, nothing more. Luck or providence, the shard slices the attacker's cheek. He stumbles, momentarily blind. Donovan uses the heartbeat to tackle him, piggyback. Fingers finding the enemy's grenade pouch. He rips free a Type 97, pulls the pin with his teeth, stuffs it down the man's tunic, shoves him toward the pontoon party now ankle-deep in the river. He limps back toward the wreck. Throat raw, blood dripping somewhere inside his boot. The grenade detonates behind WUFF, spraying the engineers with fragments. Tossing half-built pontoon halves into the current, screams echo downriver, from the trench. The Marines erupt in ragged cheers. The eastern sky bruises purple, dawn is. Minutes away, Donovan drags himself over the tank's blown track, toward home. Each crawl sears muscle. He feels warmth down his thigh, bandage blown, bleeding again. Halfway there, he collapses beside a crater, lungs pumping steam. Raindrops pattern his face as the storm returns soft, gentle, almost merciful. He looks up. The first faint glow of sunrise crowns the palm tops, painting them gold. After 8 hours, light has come. But with light comes clarity. On the far slope, silhouettes regroup, hundreds more. Banners rippling in breeze. Dawn is simply another stage. The enemy is still here. Doctrine may lie in ruins, but determination walks onto legs and carries a rifle. Donovan presses a muddy hand over his side wound, grips the bar that Velasquez shoved into the mud beside him. The receiver is dented, but the bolt cycles. He checks the belt. 64 rounds left. Is 64 enough for daylight? Or has the night merely traded one devil for another? A wash of pale gold slides down the palms, lifting steam off the jungle floor like souls leaving bodies. In that eerie half-light, everything looks painted blood, a deeper black, uniforms ghost gray. The matanikau, a mirror of molten brass. Charlie. Donovan forces himself upright against the Hago's shattered hull. Each rib protests. But the bar's receiver feels steady in his palms. 64 rounds. That's life, measured in lead. Across the riverbank, Imperial Captain Nakajima ties a white senbari cloth, 1,000-stitch belt round his waist. He has lost to companies, half his machine guns, the tank he begged Division for. Doctrine is ashes, yet orders remain. Seize the high ground or die under the Emperor's gaze. He draws his kaigun to sword, points it at the pinkening sky, and shouts the final charge. Bugles bray, the hillside comes alive. What survived the night now surges in daylight. Roughly 300 men, rifles leveled, knee mortars tucked like lances. Bayonet steel flickers orange. To Donovan's fuzzy ears the roar sounds distant, like surf. Then it's upon him. He plants the BAR's bipod on a crate fused to the Hago's track. Thumbs the paddle switch. Velasquez, still in the trench, sees the barrel tilt and times his own fire. The two automatics, battered but reborn, open up together. Jazz riffs of .3006 stitch corkscrew trails across the riverbank. Men tumble. Others sprint through the gaps. The first banzai crash meets sandbags. At 20 yards, Marines rise from foxholes swinging entrenching tools, cabars, even broken Garand stocks. Doc Hirano coat crimson up to elbows leans into the line with Price's cold point for 5, squeezing single measured shots despite the blood on his hands. Each recoil jolts Price's dog tags that now hang around Hirano's neck. Donovan tracks a cluster of infantry trying to flank the wreck. 8-round burst, pause. 6-round burst, brass arcs and glittering fountains. Belt clacks empty down to 44. He slaps the new link, slams the charging handle. The action sticks, dirt coats the lugs. A Japanese corporal lunges over the Hago, saber raised, to close. Donovan pivots the whole 11-pound gun like a club, smashes receiver into jaw. Bone cracks. Saber flies. The corporal slides down the hole with a dull-blank stare. Another line of helmets tops the ridge reinforcements from the pontoon sector. He shattered minutes ago. How many more? Donovan's pulse drums in time with the bolt. He rakes them 5, 10, 12 fall, but the line keeps rolling, bayonets bobbing like shark fins. 31 rounds. From the west, a guttural howl rises, Marine war cry this time. Dark shapes sprint through the tree line, ponchos flapping. K Company resupply platoon. Finally punching through with sandbag crates and clattering ammo boxes strapped to mules. Staff Sergeant Mo O'Rourke leads, Thompson blazing 2 and 2. To clear a lane. Dog Company, breakfast delivery. He bellows. Velasquez whoops. Tosses the last of his point for 5 mags to Donovan. Eat while it's hot. Crates crash into the trench. Lids fly fresh bar belts, rifle clips, grenades sealed. In wax paper, Marines tear at them like starving men. Metallic clicks roll down the line. An iron ripple of rebirth. Captain Nakajima sees it. Feels momentum slipping. He signals the knee mortars, suppress the supply lane. Thunk, thunk, thunk. 45-degree arcs arc over the river. Donovan tracks. One shell by instinct his belt almost through. He swings the bar skyward, squeezes a 5-round ladder. One round snaps the mortar bomb midair. It detonates in a cloud of smoke and shrapnel above friendly and enemy alike. Luck's last coin. Spent. Down to 8 rounds. Donovan feeds the gun a fresh belt from the resupply crate. Velasquez snaps a new drum into Price's formerly silent bar, now manned by a lanky kid named Stokes. To Brownings, to rhythms, weave a steel curtain. Japanese riflemen stagger, falter, then break formation, ducking for trees that no longer exist. Bombed, burned, some by bullets. Nakajima's sword trembles. He raises it for another push when a shadow passes over engine roar low, hard, alone dauntless. Travis's Blue 2 has sneaked beneath the cloud deck, out of bombs. But Bean still has 600 rounds and twin Brownings. He noses down, strafes the bunched infantry lines. Dust geysers, bodies spin. Marines cheer, throats hoarse. The captain's sword dips. He studies the wrecked ford. Pontoon halves drift, painting swirls of blood and eddies. The typewriter chatter of 2 bars cuts through his ears. He feels doctrine die again. This time forever. He lowers the blade, barks to the survivors, fall back, cover the wounded, withdraw to secondary. Ridge, buglers sound the desperate shrill of retreat. On the riverbank, silence grows in irregular patches, first between bursts, then between heartbeats, until only raindrip and wounded moans remain. Donovan eases off the trigger, shoulders quaking. The barrel smokes, giving up heat like a forge. Velasquez clambers onto the hago, grins at Donovan through soot and grime. You still counting rounds? Donovan checks the belt, 48 left. He laughs a rah, cracked bark, and lets the bars but drop to mud. Captain Marlowe surveys the carnage. 47 Marines began the night, 24 stand now, some bleeding, none untouched. Yet Henderson Field's horizon glitters with the first peach-pink glow of true sunrise. And no enemy banners fly between here and there. A radio operator finally gets through on a fresh set. Higher HQ patches straight to General Vandegrift himself. Marlowe hands the handset to Velasquez, who passes it to Donovan, static. Then a calm baritone. Heard you kept the river. Hell of a night, son. Donovan, stunned, manages. Yes, sir. Rate of fire held the line. He wants to say more. Explain how Doctrine met dynamite and lost. How Browning can carve history in hundreds of seconds. But words fail. Only the clink of cooling metal answers. Eloquent as any speech. He lowers the handset, looks at the battered bar, the dent it took deflecting a saber, the fresh belt coil like a sleeping rattler. For the first time, he believes daylight might actually last around him. Marines begin the mundane miracle of splint bones, brew coffee over diesel stoves, scrounge cigarettes from soggy packs. Doc Hirano stitches Price's neck, pulse is weak. But it's there. Corporal Stokes stacks captured Type 99s for intel. A mule brays. Impatient for water. Life, stubborn and ordinary, pries its way back through the cracks. Across the river, Nakajima's column dwindles into the trees, carrying its wounded. Doctrine in tatters. Legends remade by a gun they once mocked. Overhead, sunbeams spear clouds, spotlighting the scarred ground like a stage finally revealing its actors in full. Charlie Donovan exhales, tastes cordite-laced dawn, and lets his eyes close for a heartbeat, not sleep, just proof that he can. In that sliver of darkness behind eyelids, he sees the river at night, the iron rain, the hago tumbling, the sentry's cigarette ember. Then another image, a quiet mess hall somewhere stateside, where men will lean forward when he says, "Let me tell you what 60-round bursts can do." He opens his eyes. The sun is up. The line holds, and the bar, warm and emptied of prophecy, awaits the next magazine.